Full story. The family rejected me. Then my assistant's call turned my life around, completely. Hey everyone, welcome back to Silent Wars. I'm really glad you're here today. We've got a heartfelt family story coming up that's full of surprises, emotions, and maybe even a little drama. So buckle up. And don't worry, no family feuds will be harmed during this video. Just some good old-fashioned storytelling with a twist. Before we dive in, if you enjoy stories that touch the heart and show real-life challenges, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel so you won't miss out on more inspiring content like this. Also, I'd love to know where you're watching from and what time it is in your part of the world. Drop it in the comments below. So get comfortable, maybe grab a cup of tea, and settle in. We're about to share a story that's a gentle reminder of the ups and downs of family life and the strength it takes to keep going. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. Olivia Hayes stepped out of the sleek black SUV, her heels clicking softly against the polished stone driveway of the sprawling summer estate nestled on the shores of Lake Michigan. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm golden glow over the manicured lawns and the grand colonial-style mansion that stood as a testament to generations of family legacy. Yet, despite the beauty around her, Olivia's heart was heavy, a turbulent mix of anxiety and restrained sorrow bubbling just beneath the surface of her carefully composed expression. For years, family gatherings like this had been a battlefield where Olivia was cast as the perpetual outsider, the black sheep, who never quite measured up to the lofty expectations of the Hayes clan. While her siblings and cousins basked in the glow of their corporate successes, charity galas, and meticulously curated social media feeds, Olivia had quietly forged her own path, far from the spotlight and far from their approval. But that path was often misunderstood, dismissed, even mocked. As she walked toward the grand front doors, whispers followed her steps like shadows. "There's Olivia, still chasing those pipe dreams," a voice murmured behind a raised champagne glass. Another sneered, "I don't see how she ever expects to fit in here." The words stung, sharp and unrelenting. Olivia felt the weight of every cold glance, every clipped smile that held more judgment than warmth. It was a cruel ritual she'd endured time and again, each encounter chipping away at her confidence, but never extinguishing the quiet fire that fueled her. Inside the lavish great room, where chandeliers sparkled and laughter filled the air, Olivia forced herself to smile, nodding politely to relatives who barely hid their disdain. Their questions about her odd career choices, the company she'd started that no one seemed to take seriously, felt like invisible knives aimed at her heart. Yet beneath the polished veneer of composure, a steely resolve simmered. Olivia knew the truth of her own worth, even if her family refused to see it. Her presence here was more than just attendance. It was an act of quiet defiance, a declaration that, no matter the coldness she faced, she would not be erased or silenced. Deep inside, beneath the ache of isolation, a determination burned fiercely to prove, not just to her family, but to herself, that success was not defined by their approval, but by her own grit and vision. The atmosphere inside the Hayes family estate was thick with polished smiles and carefully curated conversations. But beneath the surface, Olivia felt a growing weight pressing down on her chest. As she moved quietly through the crowd, she couldn't help but overhear the casual boasts and proud declarations that echoed around the lavish room. Her siblings and cousins were the stars of the night, regaling one another with tales of executive promotions, multi-million-dollar real estate deals, and invitations to the most exclusive social events in Chicago and New York. Her brother, Nathan, was the newly appointed CFO of a Fortune 500 company, his tailored suit cutting a sharp figure as he laughed easily with old college friends. Across the room, her cousin Miranda described her recent purchase of a penthouse overlooking Central Park. The price tag whispered reverently among the guests. Another relative, James, recounted his latest venture capital success story, his confidence filling the room like the finest vintage wine. For Olivia, all these stories were like distant stars, brilliant and unreachable. She felt the harsh sting of comparison clawing at her self-esteem. In the eyes of her family, she was still the loser who had refused the traditional corporate ladder, who had taken the riskier, less glamorous path of entrepreneurship that they barely acknowledged. Their conversations, though not directed at her, were a constant reminder of the gulf between her perceived failures and their celebrated achievements. A profound loneliness settled over her as she realized how invisible she had become in this world that seemed to value only status and wealth. The laughter around her felt hollow, a soundtrack to a game she wasn't allowed to win. Yet beneath that loneliness stirred a quiet defiance. Olivia clung fiercely to the belief that her journey, though misunderstood and unrecognized tonight, was building something real, something sustainable that would outlast fleeting titles and possessions. She reminded herself that success wasn't a single moment of applause, but the sum of countless days spent persevering through doubt, hardship, and unseen battles. Her vision was clear, and despite the invisible barrier her family had placed between her and their world, Olivia knew her time was coming. And when it did, no one would be able to deny her worth any longer. The tension in the grand room had become almost palpable. Olivia felt the invisible weight of her family's disdain pressing down harder with each passing moment, the whispers growing louder and the sideways glances sharper. Just as the sting of their contempt seemed unbearable, her phone buzzed quietly in her purse, breaking through the suffocating atmosphere. She glanced discreetly at the screen. Jada, her trusted assistant, calling. Olivia stepped aside, her heart pounding with a mixture of hope and nervous anticipation. She answered with a calm voice, masking the swirl of emotions brewing inside her. Jada's words hit her like a thunderclap. The investment firm Olivia had painstakingly built over the past decade had just completed a monumental $150 million acquisition. This deal wasn't just another transaction, it was a game changer, elevating her to a prominent position among the leading players in the finance world. For a moment, Olivia stood frozen, the magnitude of the news sinking in. The weight of years spent fighting for recognition, of nights spent hunched over spreadsheets and conference calls, suddenly crystallized into a shining moment of triumph. The call was a lifeline thrown in the midst of stormy seas, a confirmation that her hard work had not been in vain. But along with the surge of excitement came a flood of apprehension. What would this mean for her strained relationship with her family? Could this success finally shift their cold narrative of her as the family disappointment? Or would it ignite new tensions, jealousy, and attempts to undermine her? The uncertainty loomed large, but Olivia knew she had to seize this opportunity. This was her moment to redefine herself not just in their eyes, but for herself. She took a deep breath, steadying her voice as she thanked Jada and ended the call. Returning to the gathering, Olivia's gaze hardened with renewed determination. The news was not yet public, but when it was, it would rewrite the story her family had long believed. No longer would she be the shadow at the edges of their success stories. Instead, she would be the force commanding attention, demanding respect. That small buzz from her phone had become a beacon of hope, a promise that the tides were turning, and Olivia was finally on the brink of claiming her rightful place. Just as Olivia was beginning to digest the staggering news of her firm's $150 million acquisition, a new wave of anxiety crashed over her. Her phone rang again. This time it was Mark, her CFO, his voice tense and urgent. "Olivia, I just got off the line with our legal team," he said, barely masking his concern. "The IRS has initiated an unexpected audit, and there's a serious risk they could freeze more than $25 million of our company's assets." The words hit Olivia like a gut punch. The audit had been triggered by a whistleblower from one of the recently acquired subsidiaries, someone within the company who had flagged potential irregularities. Whether these concerns were valid or merely the act of a disgruntled employee, the consequences were immediate and severe. The financial scrutiny threatened not only the liquidity of her business, but also cast a long shadow over her credibility. Suddenly, the room around her, the glittering estate, the familiar faces of family faded into the background. Olivia felt the crushing pressure of scrutiny, both public and private, closing in. She wasn't just fighting for her company's survival, she was battling to prove her integrity in the eyes of skeptical family members and a watchful government. Every detail, every document, every transaction was now a potential battleground. The stakes couldn't be higher. If the IRS decided to act swiftly, freezing $25 million in assets could cripple ongoing operations, delay the integration of recent acquisitions, and jeopardize the multi-million-dollar deals that had begun to turn Olivia's fortunes around. Worse yet, the financial turbulence would provide ammunition to her critics, who had long questioned her capability and legitimacy. But Olivia refused to succumb to panic. Drawing on her years of experience navigating corporate turbulence, she began rallying her team, instructing legal and financial advisors to prepare for a rigorous defense. She pored over the company's books herself, determined to ensure every figure was transparent, every process above reproach. As she prepared for the fight ahead, Olivia understood that this audit was more than just a legal challenge. It was a test of her resilience, leadership, and character. The outcome would shape not only her company's future, but also her own narrative. With the weight of the audit looming over her, Olivia steeled herself to face the storm, knowing that this crucible could either break her or forge her into the powerhouse she was destined to become. Midway through the lavish family reunion, as Olivia tried to maintain her composure amid the simmering tension, she received a private, encrypted message that shattered her world. Her trusted chief operating officer, someone she had relied on for years and considered almost family, had secretly leaked sensitive merger documents to a rival firm. This wasn't just a minor breach. It jeopardized a critical $150 million deal that was pivotal to the future of her investment empire. The revelation hit Olivia like a tidal wave, crashing over her with a mix of disbelief, hurt, and searing anger. She had placed her faith and loyalty in this individual, only to be blindsided by betrayal from within her own inner circle. Questions swirled relentlessly in her mind. How could someone so close undermine everything she had worked so hard to build? Was this a calculated act of sabotage or driven by greed? And most painfully, could she still trust anyone? This internal treachery intensified the emotional turmoil Olivia was already facing with her family's cold dismissal. Now, the battle wasn't only about breaking free from their judgmental shadows, it was about defending her empire against sabotage from within. The stakes had never been higher. Losing that merger could not only cost millions, but also irreparably damage her credibility and future opportunities. Despite the shock, Olivia's resolve hardened. She swiftly assembled her closest advisors and legal team, launching an immediate investigation to uncover the full extent of the leak and secure her assets. Every piece of information was scrutinized, every trust reassessed. The betrayal forced her to navigate the treacherous waters of corporate intrigue, leadership challenges, and personal heartbreak all at once. This moment became a defining crucible for Olivia, testing her ability to lead under pressure, make tough decisions, and confront uncomfortable truths. It was a painful reminder that success often comes with unexpected enemies, sometimes disguised as allies. Yet, it also revealed her strength and resilience, the unwavering determination to protect what was hers, no matter the cost. As the reunion continued around her, Olivia was no longer just fighting for acceptance. She was fighting to save her legacy from unraveling, proving to herself and the world that true leadership means standing tall, even when betrayal cuts deepest. Hours before the moment Olivia had been preparing for her entire life, the confrontation with her family, her body began to betray the strength she had carefully cultivated. The mounting pressures of the reunion, the weight of years of rejection, the looming threats to her business, and the fresh sting of betrayal from within her own team converged into an overwhelming storm inside her. Suddenly, a sharp tightness gripped her chest, spreading like a vice that squeezed harder with every breath. Dizziness washed over her, blurring the edges of the room and making the once familiar estate feel alien and menacing. Her heart pounded violently, erratic and unrelenting, as sweat broke out across her forehead. Olivia was experiencing a panic attack, an uninvited and deeply human moment of vulnerability that shattered the poised facade she wore like armor. As she leaned against the cold marble wall of the estate's grand hallway, clutching at her chest, the room seemed to close in around her. The confident, unshakable woman her family thought they knew was, in this moment, consumed by fear and exhaustion. She was not just a powerhouse CEO or a relentless fighter. She was a human being battling the very real and raw effects of stress. This crisis, though frightening, also revealed the depth of Olivia's courage. It was a reminder that beneath every triumph and every bold declaration lies a complex tapestry of struggles, doubts, and pain. Her panic attack was not a sign of weakness, but a testament to the enormous emotional burden she carried. It humanized her, making her fight even more relatable and inspiring. Taking a slow, deliberate breath, Olivia forced herself to steady her racing heart. She closed her eyes, grounding herself with a mental anchor to the countless nights she had spent preparing for this very moment, the moment she would finally claim her voice and her place. The vulnerability she felt was transformed into a quiet strength, fueling her resolve rather than breaking it. When Olivia finally stepped forward to face her family, she carried with her not just the power of success, but the bravery of having confronted her own fears head-on. This intimate, raw moment added a profound emotional layer to her journey, one that would resonate deeply with anyone who has ever struggled in silence, yet chosen to stand tall anyway. As whispers of Olivia's staggering triumph began to ripple through the family gathering, a palpable shift unfolded among the relatives. The scornful sneers and dismissive glances that had long shadowed her presence slowly morphed into wide-eyed disbelief and stunned silence. Olivia Hayes, once dismissed as the perennial underachiever, the loser who had abandoned the traditional path, was now revealed as the formidable CEO commanding a billion-dollar investment empire. The news traveled like wildfire, leaving her family scrambling to reconcile the woman they had overlooked with the powerful figure standing before them. The air grew thick with tension as family members exchanged furtive glances, struggling to process the abrupt reversal of fortune. Faces once filled with smug superiority now showed hints of fear and uncertainty. Conversations faltered, and the previously confident facade of the successful siblings and cousins began to crack under the weight of this unexpected revelation. For years, Olivia had been the background noise, the shadow cast aside during holidays and celebrations. Now, she was the center of a dramatic reckoning that none could ignore. This moment felt almost cinematic, a climax in a story of resilience and redemption that transcended the usual family drama. The grand estate, with its polished marble floors and towering windows, became a stage where old dynamics were upended and new realities forged. Olivia's presence was electric, her quiet confidence speaking volumes about the strength it took to build her empire in the face of doubt and rejection. As the family grappled with their own shocked reactions, Olivia's poised demeanor sent a clear message. She had earned her place, not through inheritance or privilege, but through relentless determination and unwavering belief in herself. The very relatives who had once questioned her choices now found themselves at a crossroads, forced to acknowledge her achievements or risk alienating a power they could no longer dismiss. In this charged atmosphere, Olivia stood tall, embodying the triumph of perseverance over prejudice. The moment marked not just a personal victory, but a seismic shift in the family's narrative, a redefinition of success, respect, and what it truly means to belong. The room fell into a heavy silence as Olivia stepped forward, eyes locked onto the faces of the very people who had spent years doubting and dismissing her. The grand dining hall, once filled with polite chatter and forced smiles, now bore witness to a confrontation charged with years of buried pain and pent-up frustration. Olivia's voice was calm, but beneath that composed exterior burned a fierce fire, a determination to finally lay bare the hypocrisy, neglect, and underestimation she had endured for far too long. "I've stood quietly on the sidelines, watching you celebrate your successes and ignore my struggles," she began, her tone steady but resolute. "You labeled me the failure, the black sheep, the one who didn't belong in this family's story. Yet here I am, the CEO of a company valued in the billions, a reality you refused to see." Each word landed with precision, cutting through the facade of family decorum and exposing raw truths no one dared to speak aloud. Olivia's gaze swept the room, taking in the mixture of shock, guilt, and defensiveness etched on their faces. "For years you overlooked the late nights, the sacrifices, the relentless pursuit of something meaningful because it didn't fit your narrow definitions of success." Her voice cracked momentarily, the weight of betrayal and sorrow surfacing, but she quickly regained control. "I wasn't invisible because I was less. I was invisible because you chose to look away." Tensions escalated as old wounds reopened. Family members exchanged uneasy glances, their carefully maintained images unraveling before their eyes. Olivia's confrontation wasn't just about personal grievances, it was a reckoning that merged the personal and professional, the past and future. She was no longer the subdued outcast, she was an authoritative force demanding recognition and respect. As her declaration echoed through the room, Olivia reclaimed her narrative. The confrontation was not merely a clash of words, but a powerful assertion of self-worth and resilience. In that charged moment, she transformed from the overlooked sibling into the undeniable leader of her own story, one who had finally broken free from the chains of doubt and neglect. The morning after the family showdown, Olivia woke to a world transformed. Overnight, major financial news outlets had picked up the story of her meteoric rise from the overlooked sibling to a powerful CEO with $1 billion portfolio. Headlines splashed across websites and newspapers bore titles like "The Hidden Heiress," "Olivia Hayes' Stunning Ascent," and "From Family Outcast to Financial Powerhouse." For Olivia, the public recognition was both a vindication and a new battlefield. As the media spotlight intensified, the initial wave of praise was quickly tempered by relentless scrutiny. Journalists began digging deep into her past, probing every detail from her early entrepreneurial struggles to the quiet decisions that led to her current success. Some outlets praised her resilience and business acumen, while others questioned her methods and the legitimacy of her rapid acquisitions. The narrative was no longer just about triumph. It was about who Olivia truly was, framed and reframed through the lens of public opinion. At the same time, members of her family sought to use the media frenzy to their advantage. Private conversations were leaked, statements carefully crafted to cast doubt on her character and leadership. The once dismissive relatives suddenly found their voices amplified, trying to reclaim influence and discredit the very success they had once ignored. Olivia was thrust into a complex web of public relations battles, legal considerations, and personal betrayals, all unfolding under the unforgiving glare of the spotlight. Navigating this new terrain tested Olivia's poise like never before. Every interview, every press release, and every social media post required careful thought and precision. She learned quickly that the stakes were no longer confined to boardroom negotiations or family dynamics. Now, her reputation was on the line in a court far larger and more unpredictable. The pressure was immense, but so was her determination. Despite the challenges, Olivia remained steadfast. She embraced the spotlight as an opportunity not just to defend her achievements, but to inspire others who had been underestimated or overlooked. Her resilience in the face of scrutiny underscored a powerful message. Success is not granted by birthright or acceptance, but earned through perseverance and integrity. The media storm was not merely a trial, it was the proving ground that would define Olivia Hayes not just as a business leader, but as a symbol of empowerment in a world eager to judge. Her story had become bigger than family conflicts. It was now a beacon for anyone fighting to rewrite their narrative. After the storm of confrontation, media scrutiny, and internal battles had finally begun to settle, Olivia found herself standing at a crossroads, not just professionally, but deeply personally. The path before her was no longer about proving others wrong or seeking revenge for years of neglect. Instead, she chose a route marked by measured forgiveness and the possibility of healing fractured family bonds. This decision was neither easy nor naive. It was a deliberate act of strength and self-respect. Olivia reached out to her family with clear terms. Any hope for reconciliation required acknowledgement of her worth and genuine respect. She was no longer the overlooked sibling or the dismissed failure. Her legacy was built on resilience, vision, and integrity qualities that demanded recognition if healing was to begin. This stance was firm, yet compassionate, signaling growth beyond bitterness and a refusal to allow past wounds to dictate her future. The family's response was mixed. Some members, humbled by the unfolding truth and their own moments of reflection, embraced the chance to rebuild connections. Others struggled, caught between pride and vulnerability. But Olivia remained patient and resolute, understanding that true reconciliation is a process, not an instant fix. Her willingness to forgive did not mean forgetting. It meant choosing empowerment over resentment and crafting a new narrative for all involved. Her story closed not on a note of vengeance, but of hope, a testament to the power of self-empowerment and authenticity. Olivia's journey illustrated that lasting success isn't measured by external accolades or appearances, but by the integrity with which one lives and leads. She had transformed her trials into a foundation for a legacy defined by truth, courage, and the unwavering commitment to be seen for who she truly was. In embracing forgiveness, Olivia also embraced freedom, the freedom to move beyond the shadows of family judgment and societal expectations. She became a beacon for anyone who has faced dismissal or underestimation, showing that healing and greatness can coexist. Her legacy was not just a thriving business empire, but a profound message that true power lies in owning your story, standing firm in your worth, and extending grace without losing yourself. As Olivia looked toward the future, she did so with renewed purpose, knowing that the greatest victories are those that build bridges rather than burn them, creating a legacy that lasts far beyond fleeting success. Life often challenges us with moments of doubt, rejection, and unforeseen obstacles. Olivia's story reminds us that true success is rarely a straight path, but one marked by resilience, self-belief, and the courage to redefine our worth on our own terms. In a world where external validation can feel like a currency, it's crucial to remember that your value does not depend on others' opinions or the immediate recognition you receive. One of the most powerful lessons is the importance of perseverance, continuing to work quietly toward your goals, even when the world seems indifferent or dismissive. Success built on grit and integrity holds far greater meaning than fleeting approval. It teaches us to embrace our unique journey, trusting that authentic achievement comes from dedication, not comparison. Olivia's experience also underscores the complex nature of relationships, especially within families. While hurt and misunderstanding can leave deep scars, choosing forgiveness and setting boundaries rooted in respect allow healing and growth. Forgiveness is not about forgetting past pain, but about reclaiming your peace and moving forward with strength and clarity. Moreover, the story encourages us to face challenges head-on, including unexpected crises and betrayals, with calmness and strategic thinking. Life will test your character in moments of pressure, but these are also opportunities to build resilience and assert your leadership not just professionally, but in your personal narrative. Ultimately, Olivia's journey teaches that empowerment comes from owning your story authentically and choosing to build a legacy defined by integrity, courage, and compassion. No matter where you stand today, you have the power to shape your future, rewrite your narrative, and rise beyond limitations with grace and confidence. As we close this chapter of Olivia's journey, take a moment to breathe it all in. Life isn't always about grand victories or loud celebrations. Sometimes it's the quiet resilience, the steady courage to keep moving forward, even when the road feels long and uncertain. Olivia's story reminds us that strength often comes softly in whispered moments of hope, in the calm after the storm. Remember, your path is your own, filled with unique challenges and triumphs. It's okay to pause, to feel vulnerable, and to trust that better days are ahead. We all have that spark within, waiting to light our way when the world feels dim. If Olivia's story touched your heart, please give this video a like and subscribe to Silent Wars for more stories that inspire and uplift. I'd love to hear where you're watching from. Share your city and the time there in the comments below. Thank you for spending this time here with us. Now, take a deep breath, relax, and carry this quiet strength with you. Until next time, keep shining, quietly and beautifully.